open it up to the audience Q&A. I know a bunch of you guys have some questions for Ray, but something that I wanted to get into is growing up, what was your first love, and how did one bridge into the other? MMA, martial arts, and the cinema.
First love was films, TV and films. You know, anything that I saw on TV or movies, I tried to copy and do as a kid. You know, wasn't a lot to do in Scotland apart from climb building sites, scaffolding, play soccer, or get into fights. Or run away from fights.
All the same day, right? Really?
Soccer and fights go hand in hand. So I got pretty sick of that sort, because a lot of, it was just whatever team you supported, people would like pick on you, or it was an opportunity. You know how European soccer is, you know? So I liked playing, but I also loved Bruce Lee because of my dad. And so I just was fascinated by Kung Fu films and Jackie Chan, anything to do with ninjas and Kung Fu guys, Shaolin monks. I wanted to be a Shaolin monk at one point. My body's a temple and all that. And then my dad said, right, you're going to do Kung Fu, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something that was the same as what I saw in movies. You know, I was the kid that believed everything I saw on TV and film, like the guy who goes and finds the master, makes him tea, and then in a couple of months he becomes really good. You know? That's who I wanted to be. And so martial arts is really my love. You know?
So as you were getting older, again mentioning martial arts, you were getting into that, and you were winning, you were getting into tournaments, and then so how did you end up getting into film? You were very, very young. You're about what in your early 20s when you got into Star Wars.
I was 22.
22 years old, just a kid, just a baby when that happened. How did that process go about when that started for you?
I sort of backtracked a little bit. Well, I got into so I started in Shaolin Kung-fu because of why I wanted to just be like the guys in films. When I got around to about 14, 15, I was heavily into the Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung and MBL movies, and so they were using a lot of Chinese guys to sort of fight with, like Richard Norton, Cynthia Rothrock, and a bunch of other like European and Australian martial artists. So that, you know, in the martial art community you talk, and then so I thought, well, maybe I can get into that. And so I was doing adult gymnastics, where there were other performers who were in the stunt business, who were dancers, who were actresses, and I could see them practicing, and so I thought, well, I could do that. But I was too young to do it, so I picked their brains and said, when you're 18, 21, then go and try and do it. So I got into Wushu to get into films, because I heard that Jackie Chan likes to use guys who know Wushu. So I got into Wushu and practiced that, excuse me. And that's what's really helped me to sort of land my part for Darth Maul, really, because the Wushu bow staff is very flamboyant, energized, and very show-offy, and so that really helped with that.
And how did you get the attention of George? I'm not on a first name basis, you are, Mr. Lucas.
I worked on a movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, before that, and that was filmed in England. And I doubled for Raiden, and this is when I was making plans to go to Hong Kong. I wanted to go out there and just knock on doors and work with any Hong Kong stunt coordinator, and hopes to work with Jackie Chan, the MBL, Sammo Hung, or Donnie Yen, any of those guys that I knew and knew of, so I don't know them. And then so they were doing open auditions for stunt guys for Mortal Kombat. And a stunt friend of mine who had seen me at the gym had seen me doing all this jumping and spinning and bouncing and running at walls, and he said, just come in and audition, I think you're right to the park, because they're looking for Wushu guys. So I landed the part I was asked to come in again and audition, and I was able to work as utility stunts, just be around to help teach other actors. And then I ended up doubling for Raiden and playing one of the Brackers. And I think that's what helped me get Phantom Menace, because we were in the same studios as Star Wars, and and then the stunt community started to talk a little bit, I think, and saying, look at this kid, check him out, he's crazy. And so they were looking for someone who could do a lot of stuff. And again, I grew up in movies, so I believed that Jedis could do mind trick and stuff.
All right, guys, I'm going to put the mic over here. Whoever has a question, let's get a line coming somehow, single file. I don't know how. But we'll get some questions going here. So anybody who has a question, we'll line it up. Really, guys? Come on, one of you. Oh, you're the Vin Diesel guy. All right. This is Ray Park, all right?
Okay, so what's the worst or maybe even funniest or best way you've ever been injured on set?
I've never been injured on set. Yeah, not yet. I've been injured at home playing with my kids. I've never been injured when I'm working or training, but when I'm like playing around with the kids, like when they were babies and picking them up, I had a bad back for it. I don't know how you ladies do it. There's you know, those trap muscles at the back holding them up, and you know, of course, as guys, you pick them up the wrong way, and, you know, yeah, just training at home, I get silly sprains just from goofing off, and you know, trying to show off. My greatest audience is my kids, because I want to show off my best moves to them, because now that they're age that they're doing stuff, I have this fear that I'm never going to be able to do it again. You know, there was a different Ray when I was 21, and it was a different Ray when I was 30 and 35, but as you're 40,
You got plenty more.
You know, you're a little hesitant, you're like, okay, how much money's in it for me now? How much pain and suffering am I going to next week, you know, so, yeah, it's mainly at home. I you know, I've been busting my shoulder just from trying, you know, bouncing those medicine balls, your big exercise balls. And of course, my kids are bouncing off them on the trampoline, so I'm trying to do it, and of course, throws you off, and big heavy old flat myself, you know. I'm not as springy as I used to be.
Alright, thank you so
Good
much.
question. All right. You, sir. Clark Kent.
Yes, Clark Kent from the Daily Planet. Did you ever consider going for a lead role in an action movie?
If the opportunity was there to audition for it, I would do it. You know, like a lot of the stuff that I've done, I've been really happy about the opportunities. So I'm open to it.
He's not done.
Did you ever consider taking a role with more than one line?
You know, it doesn't really bother me, the dialogue stuff, because I actually just like to do the action. I go into it just to do action. I didn't really care about the acting, you know, like the craft. I just wanted to do the action.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kent. Please work more on your journalism skills. Oh, hi. What's your name? Do you have a question for Mr. Park?
You're a master in training.
I'll just start a small fight with Darth Vader.
Oh! That's the cutest thing I've ever heard.
How old are you, buddy?
4.
He's not going to hurt you.
Anymore?
He doesn't have his Jedi staff. It's okay. So, how would Darth Maul fight Darth Vader? Yeah, how would Darth Maul
It'd be
fight?
a tricky one, because Vader's really good at using the dark side of the Force. You know, I would have to be really good at spinning the lightsaber.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All the feels are you, sir, that should be taking video and working right now. Nice hairstyle. What is your name and what question do you have?
My name's David. I would like to know how many different martial arts styles you do practice.
Shaolin Kung-fu is what I do in Wushu, and the two styles of Wushu, when I call it, blend into one anyway. It comes from really the same place anyway, and then I self-taught myself to do gymnastics, and then I learned gymnastics the correct way.
That was why I was asking, because you're all over the place. And you jump and flip and all that. I don't know that that's Wushu, is it?
Yeah, it's in Wushu a lot.
Is it?
A lot of where you see Kung Fu, there's different styles of Kung Fu, but I did Northern Shaolin. So the Wushu stuff that I was doing, the long fist or Chantran, really it was just an extension of my Shaolin. So I was able to sort of, not adapt, it took me quite a few years to get used to it, but the kicks were a lot higher, a lot flashier, and then I got into gymnastics really because I wanted to, you know, do the acrobatics like the guys in films, and then I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the art of gymnastics, because I was told I was too old at 9, 10 to do gymnastics, but I wanted to learn how to flip, because, you know, you're doing breakdancing and stuff,
You know, you gotta do some
Oh,
flips.
man, you're really telling your age.
If there's a role that comes up that requires you to learn a different type of martial art, would you gladly take up that
Yeah,
challenge?
of course. I love all martial arts. Over the years, I've always boxed. And I've always boxed at home. My dad always taught me boxing. And I just love the art of boxing, and I love kickboxing. And I do that for fun for myself. But the traditional stuff and the wushu stuff, where I get to move and I got to show me the style, that's what I really love doing. And then I would love to learn new styles as well. But there's there's not enough time sometimes, like, I want to learn some Wing Chun. Yeah, my dad wanted me to learn all of them, but I felt that there's so much you have to master and perfect in one style. I wanted to be good at one thing, or try to be.
Again, if anybody has a question for Mr. Park, please come on up here to the stage. You, sir, you must have a twin brother. What's going on?
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
All right, so since nobody else was up here, except for this.
Yeah,
ready?
Go ahead.
What was your favorite scene from The Phantom Menace to film, and also from any other films that you've done in the past or want to do in the future? What was your favorite scene to film?
Let me ask you, what do you think my favorite was to film? After I just speaking and explaining about myself, what do you think was
Well,
my favorite?
it probably has to do with Wushu.
I like the fight scenes at the end because, being the character was fun, but I just couldn't wait to actually do the fight scenes because we worked hard on it. We rehearsed for a long time, and that's where I get to do most of my stuff. You get to see most of Darth Maul. Just to do everything, I was grateful for. But the action stuff was good because it was my first time playing a role in a movie. Even though I was in Mortal Kombat. This is where I was doubling for another character, another person. I get to play a role for myself. It's me doing everything.
Thank you very much.
Don't lie, you just like to kill Liam Neeson, didn't you?
He's a good guy. Good one. All right, you, sir, the Miami Dolphins hat. Hey, how do you think Tannehill's going to do this year? Exactly. I'm just messing. Okay, what's your question?
Real quick, Mr. Park, pleasure again. Just real quick, of course, Darth Maul gets sliced in half by Obi-Wan, and then we see the return of Darth Maul during the Clone Wars. What are your thoughts on them returning Darth Maul back into the big screen?
At the time, I didn't really pay much attention to it when all the whole Clone Wars was out and stuff, and because the movie was the movie and the cartoon was a cartoon. So when I was hearing that Darth Maul has a brother and stuff like that, I was kind of like, I was envious of the fact that it was cool that he had a brother, so there was more that they could expand on. And this is before I knew about the new movies being made. And then just recently watching the Clone Wars with my kids, and then understanding that Darth Maul was quite a big part of one of the seasons. It was like, I wish I'd paid more attention in the beginning because we didn't, it's a cartoon and I'm not going to watch it because Darth Maul was in it, because because I played the character, so I didn't know how big. I thought we were going to tease everyone again, just show a bit of Darth Maul and kill him off. So I didn't want to watch it. But when I actually sat down and watched it, there was quite a lot. I was really impressed. I was impressed by some of the other characters who were in there. And so I was glad that we were able to sit down on Netflix and watch it on Netflix and just watch all of the seasons. And I think it's great that they did it. I think it's good, and maybe, like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe they'll bring Darth Maul back, or some form of Sith, that has any relation to Darth Maul.
You mentioned your kids. I wanted to ask this. How long did it take for you to show your kids, hey, you know what, this is what your dad does? You think I'm lame? No, that's what I did. How long did it take?
I didn't actually tell them they didn't know anything.
No.
I don't talk about stuff at home about what I did because they were a lot younger when Clone Wars was out. So they were too young to watch Clone Wars. I wouldn't let them watch it. Some of it's dark. But then when I landed Snake Eyes, I was talking about Snake Eyes to the cows come home. So I didn't want to be talking about Darth Maul, but Snake Eyes was like my childhood rose.
Plus, it was also good to see that your kids see your dad as a hero and not the villain. Yeah, that'll ruin me if that's the first thing I saw as my dad. Oh, my dad's a bad guy.
The kids are very impressionable, right?
Right.
So
it's like, even when I took on the role as Darth Maul, I was teaching gymnastics and martial arts in schools, in community centers. So I never once loved the bad guy in the movies. I was always into the good guy, you know? Some of the bad guys had the best moves, but they did bad stuff, and then they got killed off, you know? So my concern was that, what are my kids going to think about my kids I teach about being a bad guy? And this is before the internet, you know, how things turned around, and I've noticed over the years that kids love the bad guy. You know, like kids love Darth Maul because of his physical, like the lightsaber stuff. And then so when my son is almost 2 years old when I landed Snake Eyes, so I was able to talk about that because that's like my Batman role for me. And then over the years, as they go through kindergarten, through pre-K, their friends are big fans, and then their dads recognize me in school, so they tell their kids, and then my son goes, "Why is such and such 1 year old grow up? He's a big Star Wars fan." That's when the Star Wars conversation comes in, because I never really talked about all this stuff. They didn't even know about X-Men or Sleepy Hollow, or, you know. And it's only when I got a little bit older then I had to explain, you know, like, hey, this is what Daddy does.
Next up, sir, what's your name and what's your question?
My name is Angel,
Yeah.
and I want to know what's your favorite role or character that you played throughout your whole career?
Plays me.
Playing Ray. Ray is what you need.
No, I get asked that a lot. I like all of the characters I play, so I do something different, and every job I do is a different experience, a different offset experience and onset. With Darth Maul gave me my break to be doing the things I'm doing and to be known for this character in Star Wars. And I grew up with Star Wars too, but I also got to play Snake Eyes twice, which I grew up with G.I. Joe as a kid as well. And be part of the Marvel Universe, which I grew up with as well. I just want to be part of He-Man and Thundercats now.
Who would you play? Would you see him in the He-Man universe or Thundercats? Skeletor, do we see him with Skeletor?
The dude with the nunchucks.
I want to be Panthro.
Panthro!
Panthro, Gallop by Saddle Flash.
He's got a cool truck, he's got a nunchuck, and thanks.
Yeah, he's got some great martial arts equipment.
Yeah, and he's just good utility, and then I want to be one of the mutants from He-Man and Skeletor side.
Beastman, baby.
Maybe Mombra.
Alright, what's your name? What's your question?
My name is Matt, and my question is, do you ever have like a signature move that you try to throw into each character? I remember there was an interview that they said that in X-Men you did one of your moves from Darth Maul and threw that in there. So is there any other movies that you've kind of thrown like a little flair into it?
No, I've read articles in the past that I have a signature move and I do a signature this and that, and I don't actually. I just embrace the character, and then whatever comes out is part of me. I don't think, I need to do that movie, and this move has to be shown in every movie. But I like to, there's been a couple of them, I've done it in Phantom Menace, I've done it in the first G.I. Joe and second G.I. Joe. I do a butterfly twist. And I just want to put it in because for my own ego, because wearing the suit is a challenge. So to actually do a flip and spin it in that move, it's just for me, you know, that was just one, I try and make it make sense for the choreography. But for X-Men, it was, they had written it in, Brian Singer, director, wrote a sequence, and he said, and then I approached him and said, hey, this is going to look like Darth Maul with a stick, and we spin it. And he goes, that's what we want. We always attribute to the fans and say, hey, you know. So I the choreography a little bit and explain how the music was going to go. So I came up with a piece where it was like, hey, this is me. So that was done on purpose for X-Men.
How much did the suit weigh in G.I. Joe? You said it was for your own ego to see if you could accomplish it. How much did that thing weigh you down, Ray?
I don't know how much it weighed, but when you start sweating in it, like the latex suit was different from the armor suit. But when you sweat, I don't know if you when you play football and hockey and you sweat, and then your boots get heavier, your gloves get heavier. You know, it's the same sort of feeling, you know.
So after take, you're like, oh my gosh.
It's heavy. Like if you put a fresh suit on, a fresh pair of undies, just a fresh pair of underwear makes them hot.
That is also a hygiene,
fresh pair of clean pair of socks.
Yes. Socks and underwear will take you a long way, folks. And this segue, what is your name and what's your question?
My name's Edward, and my question is pretty simple. With the new Star Wars coming out, what's your good and bad, about it that you know of?
I'll go for bad first. I'm not in it at the moment.
It's a travesty.
I'm a big Star Wars fan. I've known that J.J. Abrams is a big Star Wars fan for many years, and so I'm glad he's doing it. And I love Star Trek too, and so I'm really excited about it. You know, and every year I go to Orlando and I do Star Wars weekends for Disney, and they do a whole month of Star Wars weekends, and I take my kids. And I remember when Disney taken over the Marvel franchise, and so to be the Magic Kingdom, and you see Mickey Mouse and all the other characters, and then go the following year, you're seeing Captain America and Iron Man is pretty cool. So I'm excited that there's more stories to be told about Star Wars, more characters. And that's where the gentleman earlier asked about the Clone Wars. Is that I wish I'd kept up on it at the time it came out, because I was doing a lot of sending apples to the teacher to make sure I was getting
Thank you. All right, next up. Name a question.
I'm Ashley, and my question is, what's the weirdest question you've been asked?
All right.
Because I mean, she asked a good question. The worst, most funky, conventional question asked from a fan ever. I mean, borderline stalker. Like borderline, here's some cake with my hair in it.
Ray Park, what's your home address?
Well, just to go around the houses a little bit, as you're saying, just to go around that off book a little bit. At one show, I remember being part of Star Wars and traveling, doing conventions and receiving fan mail. It's overwhelming, because as a kid I never thought that would happen in a million years. I knew I wanted to get into films, but I didn't think that would ever happen. So I made a joke once when someone said to me, hey, so, you know, something to do about getting stuff through the post. And I said, you know, I was expecting to get some underwear and stuff through the post, like a rock star. And
You still make that so, I don't know.
So one of the fan groups as a joke present me in a case, you know, like some, you know, as kids did. So t-shirts and shorts, and I was really embarrassed about it, because I just joked about it, you know. But no, I've never been asked a weird question or anything like that. You know?
Challenge accepted.
Well, challenge accepted. There you go. All right, good. Name a question.
And I just forget.
There we go.
My name is Micah. My question is, where are you from?
I was born in Scotland and raised in London, so I'm from the UK.
All right, thank you. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to come on up here. Ray, there's a scene in G.I. Joe, the first one, that was just one of the most awesome scenes I've seen in quite some time. And I remember you in an interview, you talked about how there was some wire work done. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you mentioned that you had a master or a sensei at the time that could do this trick. It was the crawling on your fingers trick.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
G.I. Joe 1.
Yes, sir. G.I. Joe 1, where you crawled on your fingertips.
Oh, 2 fingers.
Yes, it was 2 fingers, yeah. I'm sorry, that's even more awesome. So, how did that go about? I mean, and could that be done? Could that?
I've seen someone do a handstand with 4 fingers, should I say.
No,
I've seen someone do it live right in front of me. I've seen him break the same 2 fingers, a big pebble, and strike and break one.
Wow. Because that takes an incredible amount of forearm strength to do that.
Or whatever, yeah, he didn't look massive right in front of that, but whatever training they do, or whatever Qigong or internal strength, I don't know about, but I was just like, you know, I was impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, for the training itself would be a lot, for handstand would be a lot. Just to do finger press-ups is pretty tough and take things. So I suppose you would start there and do a lot of that, and then work your way up to handstand up against the wall, and try that with all your fingertips and then 2 fingertips.
Whose idea was that to throw that into the movie? Because that just added to the mystique of Snake Eyes. It just added to the awesomeness of it.
I'm sure it was Stephen Summers.
Yep.
I mean, I can walk on my hands. I mean, I can jump on my hands and handstand and walk on my hands, do one-handed handstands. But I've never done a 2-finger thing. And the thing is it was quite a tough thing to do anyway, because they gave me enough weight to make it real. So I had to move, and I had to make.
You still had to do a lot of work.
I had to travel, so they just kept me up, and I had to travel. They couldn't pull me along. So I'm in a long room, and I had to go along this room.
So you were stable, but they were holding up and you had to travel.
I
Oh my
had
gosh.
to make the effort to go. So it did give me, I thought it was going to be really easy. I thought I was going to have to try and act how to do it. You know, I'm going to have to really sell this, but no.
So, and then on top of the suit, the sweat, the forearms and everything.
Yeah, and like, no, and I love Stephen Summers. That film is great to work on. But I remember I had to twist onto one hand, pull out the knife, and he's shouting the whole time because I was up in a high set, you know, and I had to stab the button, monitor the button to open the door, and I remember cursing for the first time. But it was such a workout. I wasn't expecting because I thought it was going to be an easy one to do. You know, I'm going to be in wise, I'm going to be it's going to be easy, I'm going to pretend.
It's the easy looking ones that tend to be the roughest.
It was a bit of a challenge.
Wow.
But I don't mind, I love challenges. You know?
You sir.
How many takes did that take?
I can't remember, but it was a lot. It wasn't a lot, but it was even just doing it at once was pretty. It was a long way to go, you know, because you're in the mask and the suit, so I couldn't have. When you're in handstand, you've got peripheral. You can look from the top of your eyes, you can see where you're going, but I couldn't see where I was going and gauge the distance in the mask.
So it had to take more than one time to see.
Yeah, at least 4 times.
Your name? Question.
My name is Steven, and I wanted to ask, what was it like to be on the show Heroes? I didn't know you were on the show,
Yes.
and I just wanted to know what it was like, or
the experience.
Yeah.
Heroes was great. I was a big fan of the show when it came out, and when I bought the DVD set of the first few seasons, I was hooked on it, and I sort of said to my wife, I wish I was on a show like this. And I said, this is the show for me. I said, it's a bit like X-Men, isn't it? And then years later, I get a call, and they're like, you know, and I accidentally gave myself a mole because I was trying to shave my hair off as a cleansing thing to train hard. And every time I go into new training, I shave my hair and go into my Shaolin monks. and I made a mistake. 'Cause it was wet, and I had this little mohawk. My kids loved it, so I kept it. You know, so just because I wasn't going out anywhere, I was just at home training. And then I got a call, and I was like, but I got a mohawk, and I'm like, keep it. Just grow your beard, and that's how Edgar became Edgar. To answer the question earlier, it was one of my best work experiences, you know, because I didn't have to worry about warming up all the time. I didn't have to be in splits for so long and worry about a suit. The wardrobe fitted me, hardly any makeup, walk on set, say my lines, and then go home. You know, it was really good. It was a good experience, and plus I was a big fan of the show.
If I recall correctly, your character in Heroes didn't die, right?
No,
I don't think
I actually sort of became goodish at the end.
Well, I actually like that character a lot. I was actually curious how you feel about the show coming back. Are you allowed to say whether you're going to be in the new season?
Good question.
I'm not in it because they haven't asked me back, but I'd like to be part of it. I think it depends how nice you are in Hollywood if they ask you back or not. It all depends if it works out in their story-wise. I remember one of the producers telling me, he pulled me to the side just as we finished up the last 2 episodes of Heroes, and he says, look, if you come back for season 5, we'll bring you back. We love your character. I was like, yeah, great. And I learned a lot on Heroes as well, working side by side with Robert Napper. And, you know, I had my little fanboy moments where I froze up and I couldn't say my words. Because I'm looking at Robert face to face and I'm like, oh, this is the guy from Prison Break. Robert was great. He was great. It was just great to work with everyone on that show. I loved it. I definitely, if they asked me, I'd do it. I just need food and water.
All right, you must have triplets. All right. 2 brothers were up here.
What was your favorite of Vin Diesel's movies? How long did it take to put on like the makeup for Darth Maul, like the Phantom Menace? How long did that take?
It took about 2 or 3 hours. I think the first time he took his time, and it took about 2.5, 3 hours. And I think that's why I answered that question 3 hours, 2, 3, because that was the first time doing it, testing it out, seeing how it was, and then it got quicker and quicker as we went along over the months. But my window to get ready, because they give you a window on set. It was 3 hours, because I got to have a specialist to do my eyes, and then some makeup, and then you got wardrobe, you know. So they didn't mess around with stuff like that.
And then you got the spikes.
Right.
And then the same guy that did the, excuse me, I just had lunch. The same guy that did my makeup did the horns as well. You know, like, and also on Phantom Menace, I had like growing up with movies and ideas and what I could do with stuff. I had so many ideas of what I could do with the lightsaber, but I couldn't use them all because there's only so much you can do for film. You know, at that time. You know.
So when you did Phantom Menace,
Thanks, buddy.
when you were, again, you're in your early 20s, when did it suddenly become apparent to you, like, oh man, it's coming to that point where I can't walk down to the store anymore, I can't, where Ray just couldn't be Ray at that point in his career, I mean.
Actually, it only happened on Heroes.
Really?
Yeah, I remember, because in London, people eyeball you all the time. I suppose it's like that in New York and stuff, so you get eyeballed or someone looks at you, and I always think, why is he looking at me? I got a bogey on me or something. You know, and so in England, so when I did get recognised, it was always, because my face wasn't recognisable, it was always the character, so I knew there were true Star Wars and X-Men fans. And then when I landed part on the Heroes, when Grandma's looking at me and like, because I can tell Star Wars fans because they're younger or they're a certain age, you know. But when you got Granny and Granddad and they're like looking, because I looked like Edgar when I was walking around, because we were filming and I still had many more episodes to do. That's when it was different. And when I went to Comic Con as well, and being at Heroes panel was different from any other panel I've been on, you know, because those guys were like rock stars. And you see next to Milo and all of those guys. So yeah, it was a really, and I forget, when I go back to LA, I forget that I'm in news. I walk around, do my thing, and I'm the boy from London, still going about doing my thing, you know. I forget to say my P's and Q's sometimes, and realise that someone's recognised me, because I sort of don't think about the business all the time. It's, I like doing the job, but I just want to get back to my family and pick my nose and not worry about something.
It's something that I've been wondering about for quite some time here. When you first started out, and what was it that drove you then? Because I'm sure when we're young, when we're in our 20s, we're filled with, you know, vinegar and we have something to prove and something like that. What was driving you then, and what drives Raymond Park now?
What was driving me before I got into films?
Well, as you were getting in.
Well, before,
even before then and now.
Right, before was to be the best. I could be the best in Wushu, be the best in the world, because it was hard, and it was just there was never enough support from certain governing bodies in the Wushu community, like the martial art community. So I wanted to make Wushu a sport in England. You know, so we wanted people that were, you know, responsible for it. Then, because my mum and dad came from like a hard-working background, we never always had money, and so they would always borrow money to send it to Malaysia and stuff. So when you hear about people getting famous as a kid because they just like fell over in the street and someone recognised them and put them in a movie, it's like get rich sort of quick sort of thing, you know. But I felt that with Wushu and martial arts, I could get into movies and maybe be one of the first few people to show a different thing in film. And so I wanted to get into films just because of growing up and loving martial arts and the challenge of it, because it wasn't always easy, you know, the challenge of actually doing it. And because I was a big daydreamer as well, so I felt like, of course you want to be rich and famous when you're younger, don't you? You want to buy your mum and dad a house, you know, and do all that. But then I realised that as you get older, that's not what you want, you know, that's not what it's all about. There's a price that comes with that, and so I like the work. I still haven't bought my mum and dad a house yet, so I'm still hoping to do that.
Like, we're waiting, son. We got this mortgage. So finally here, what's on a lot of people's minds, what is new for you? What do you have coming up? Another G.I. Joe, you mentioned that you're not in Star Wars yet. So what is new for Mr. Park that you have on the horizon?
Hopefully G.I. Joe 3, so come back as Snake Eye, that's what I'm hoping to.
Maybe throw in some Pentor somewhere in there, maybe?
Yeah. I'd love to, you know, I'd love for Snake to have some nunchucks this time, you know?
We gotta throw in Sergeant Slaughter. We gotta throw him in there too. You know, he's still alive, barely, but yeah.
There's so many characters. Like in the last G.I. Joe, Firefly had this cool motorbike, and I would hope for Snake Eyes to have a cool toy some sort, you know.
Right. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, another G.I. Joe coming up. Give it up for Mr. Ray Park.